Afternoon, everybody. PA Figs. So I wanted to go through the last step of my fig cuttings. You can see I've got 3 cuttings here, and the first thing I like to do is take either a black Sharpie, or I actually prefer a white paint pen, but my white paint pen, Tracy, you want to hand me that? It ran out of paint, but here's kind of what they look like, and they draw on white paint as opposed to black marker. But I like to label every one of my cuttings, whether they're being kept here, or if I'm selling them, or I'm trading them, or giving them away. I like to label absolutely everything. You know, God forbid I'm walking to the garage or something with them in my hands and I drop them. I want to be able to tell what's what with them. So after that, the next thing I want to do, and Tracy, can you hand me that candle that's left over? Is I want to show you how I wax the ends of them. You can see that the cuttings have cut ends. And if you don't wax them, what will end up happening is that the moisture will actually dry out from in here and it'll desiccate. So you'll actually get this to dry out, and it'll just keep drying out until it dries out the entire cutting. So waxing them will let them last a little bit longer. And what I use for wax is a normal unscented candle. They're sold at a lot of stores as emergency candles for when your power goes out. And all I did was cut it in half and put it into a aluminum foil bowl, and then I just heat it up in this bowl. So I'll turn this on. I'll get that heated up, and you'll see that wax will slowly melt. And while that's going on, let me go ahead and label the other cuttings. These are a Ronde de Bordeaux that I'm doing right now. And a lot of the cuttings I'm doing today, I'm actually going to put on eBay. The reason I put things on eBay isn't necessarily because you make a fortune on there or anything like that, but I get people emailing, messaging, Facebooking, YouTubing. They contact me, once, twice a day, it seems, asking for fig cuttings. And the easiest way to do it for me is so I don't have to worry about pricing, I don't have to worry about who I owe favors to or anything like that, is I just put them up on eBay. If you want to go take a look at them, the username for me on eBay is tdepoala, tdepoala, and I'll have a lot of my cuttings up starting probably this afternoon. So if you're seeing this video, they're probably up there. And then we'll put fig cuttings up every week, every other week throughout the winter until we run out. And that's just an easy way to get rid of them. Alright, so you can see here that the wax is heating up, and you can actually start to dip around the edges. And you can see it's real hot, so you get a real thin layer of wax. I actually don't care for the thin layer of wax because I wish you could look a little closer, but you'll actually get a little opening a lot of the times in the wax. I like the wax to be a little bit cooler, so once this all melts down, I can show you. Alright, so that wax is almost melted. So what I'll actually do is I'll turn the heat off on the wax, and I'll actually let it start to cool down a little bit. And I'm dipping probably a few hundred cuttings today of different varieties, so I'll go through a lot of this wax. But now that it's getting a little bit cooler, you can see it goes on a little bit thicker. And I'll do both sides that are cut. I won't do active growth tips, but any side that's cut I'll do. And then I'll just keep going back and forth on the sides until it seals nicely, or until I feel that it's a decent enough seal to hold that moisture in. And you can see, hopefully you can see, that that is sealed nicely. Hopefully it'll focus here. And yeah, so that's all I do. So they're labeled and both ends are sealed. I'll go through each one. And you can see here's active growth tips. I will not put wax on those. I don't know that it'll necessarily hurt them. I think the growth tips would grow right through the wax, but there's just no need to. They won't dry out the same, and That way they'll start growing as soon as the roots start forming. And Teresa, if you'll hand me those 3 cuttings right in front of you there. Yeah. So there's one other thing I found in the fridge, and it's probably a good reason as to why you should... Oh, and see, this was a limb that was cut off. I'll also do my best to get that if possible. And then the top. Top had 3, looks like smaller branches that must have been cut off at one point. Okay. So, people will ask, well, does that work? And my answer is yes, it does. So we were going through the fridge, and we actually found 3 cuttings buried in the bottom of the fridge that I had done last year. You can see these are 2 black Madeiras and a Ronde de Bordeaux. They've all been waxed. They're a little bit wet. They were in with a paper towel. They didn't get moldy, but they are a little damp. And these are a year old now. And they look fit as a fiddle, and they should root no problem. So, for you guys, you'll get a little bit lucky. I'll probably have a couple black Madeiras up on eBay as well. And maybe I'll even toss in the RDB. But yeah, so now this wax will start to cool down, and when it starts to form a film on the top, what you'll find is when you dip the figs in, the cuttings in, you'll get like a big glob on the end. That's when you know for sure it's time to heat it up again. And then all you're going to do is you're going to heat it up, let that film melt down, and it just takes a second. And then you're back in business and you're ready to go. Alright. Alright, here's the end result of the waxed RDB cuttings, the Ronde de Bordeaux. So you can see there's quite a few, and it actually eats up quite a bit of the wax. The candle will last hopefully for all the cuttings, but it's surprising. You would think it was just a small film of wax, but it adds up after a few hundred cuttings. So, now on to the next step. Alright, so the next step of the cuttings, when I'm going to send them out, I like to actually vacuum seal them. Sometimes I'll use a Ziploc bag, but if I have vacuum seal bags around, I do like to use those. It sucks all the air out and keeps any moisture and mold from getting into the cuttings. So this is my preferred route. So my wife here, Teresa, she is going to show us how it's done. So the first thing is to pull the bag out and make a seal on the one end. For those of you that haven't used the vacuum seal bags, they come in a long roll, and you have to seal both ends. So the first thing we do is we seal this end, and now she's got to take the bag out and figure out how long she wants the bags to be. So these guys I think will fit sideways, or at least on a diagonal, so the bag won't have to be too large. Okay, and then she uses the little razor blade that's built in and cuts her bag. She'll put the cuttings in. Hopefully she took a picture of them outside of the bag already. Uh-oh. We're going to have to pause this video. We'll be back. Alright, let's try this again now that we took pictures of them out of the bag. We have the cuttings in the bag, and we're going to put them into the vacuum sealer. The edge needs to go into it, and then she'll close it up. And now what this will do is it'll suck all the air out of the bag. If you hold the bag up, you can see. Watch this. Hear it sucking the air out, and look at that. It seals it all up. There is no air in that bag now. And now it'll actually make the seal on the other end of the bag to close it off so the air doesn't get in. So it is now vacuum sealed, and these cuttings should last a pretty darn long time. At least certainly long enough for me to ship them to any place in the lower 47 states without having to worry as much about humidity and mold getting to them before they get to the new owners. So that's basically all there is to it. Now we'll go post these. We are not eBay experts, but we used it a little bit last year, and it was a real convenient way for us to get rid of our cuttings without having to worry about private messages and everything. We'll still give some away to friends and family locally, and some of my friends on the fig forums and throughout the United States, but this makes an easy way to get rid of a lot of the extras, and especially the higher demand fig cuttings, so I don't have to worry about who to give them to. So if you're interested in them on eBay, tdepoala, tdepoala. That's our PA Figs eBay user ID. It's my wife's old eBay ID from college and her maiden name. So that's what we're using. PA Figs, and hope you enjoyed.